Alan Rickman, a man whose voice could silence a room, whose gaze could pierce the soul, and whose presence transformed every stage and screen he touched. To millions, he was Severus Snape, the dark professor with a hidden heart. To others, Hans Gruber, the villain who redefined cinematic evil. But behind these legendary roles stood a man who waited decades before finding fame, who lived quietly, loved deeply, and worked with an artistry that was both deliberate and transcendent. Tonight, we embark on the journey of Alan Rickman. From humble beginnings in London through the fires of the theater to international stardom, and finally to the enduring legacy he left behind. This is not just the story of an actor. This is the story of a man who proved that it is never too late to find your voice and change the world with it. Alan Sidney Patrick Rickman was born on February 21, 1946, in Acton, West London. His parents, Bernard and Margaret, raised 4 children in a modest working-class home. Alan was the second of 4, and his childhood was marked by both warmth and hardship. When Alan was just 8 years old, tragedy struck. His father died of lung cancer. Suddenly, his mother had to raise the family alone. The loss was devastating. Rickman would later reflect that it made him grow up too quickly, forced into a kind of quiet maturity that would remain with him for life. Young Alan showed an early fascination with art. At school, he excelled at drawing and calligraphy, even designing birthday cards and posters for classmates. Teachers noticed his deep, unusually resonant voice, joking that Rickman didn't need a microphone, even at age 15. But acting wasn't yet his dream. Stability mattered more. He pursued graphic design, enrolling at the Chelsea College of Art and later the Royal College of Art. He was talented, meticulous, and ambitious. After graduating, he worked as a successful graphic designer, co-founding a small design studio with friends. His life seemed set, steady, creative, reliable. But there was a longing underneath, a quiet restlessness that design alone could not satisfy. In his mid-20s, Rickman felt a pull that he could no longer ignore. The world of theater had always intrigued him, its immediacy, its danger, its truth. At 26, unusually late for a would-be actor, Alan auditioned for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA. Against all odds, he was accepted, earning a scholarship that allowed him to study Shakespeare, classical text, and the technical craft of performance. At RADA, his intensity stood out. He had a stillness, a kind of unshakable presence that made him magnetic even in silence. Fellow students remembered how he could walk into a rehearsal and instantly command attention without raising his voice. Alan once admitted, "I never imagined acting was possible for someone like me. It felt like a distant dream. But the moment I stepped onto a stage, something inside me shifted." By the time he graduated, it was clear. Rickman's graphic design career had been replaced by something far riskier, but infinitely more powerful. The 1970s and 80s were years of struggle, but also growth. Rickman built his career brick by brick in the theater, performing with prestigious companies, including the Royal Shakespeare Company. He played Shakespearean villains and heroes, learning discipline and range. But his true breakthrough came with the stage production of Les Liaisons Dangereuses, where he played Le Vicomte de Valmont. His performance in London was electrifying. Audiences described him as dangerous, seductive, and utterly magnetic. When the play transferred to Broadway, Rickman went with it. The American theater critics were stunned. The New York Times praised him as commanding without effort, sinister without exaggeration. Suddenly, Rickman was no longer just another British stage actor. He was a force to be reckoned with, and Hollywood was watching. In 1988, Alan Rickman landed his first major film role at the age of 41, an unusually late start for a movie career. The film was Die Hard. The role, Hans Gruber, a suave terrorist leader. Initially, Rickman almost turned it down. He didn't want to be typecast as a villain, but fate had other plans. Hans Gruber became one of the most iconic villains in cinema history. Rickman brought sophistication, wit, and chilling calm to the role. He wasn't just a bad guy. He was a bad guy you almost admired. The film's climax featured Gruber's famous fall from Nakatomi Plaza. The stunt team promised Rickman they would drop him on the count of 3. Instead, they dropped him on 1. His startled expression was real, a moment of genuine fear immortalized on screen. Rickman later joked, "That was the day I realized Hollywood was not to be trusted." But the film made him a star. In one stroke, Alan Rickman became the man Hollywood called when they needed a villain with gravitas, intelligence, and devastating charisma. Determined not to be pigeonholed, Rickman chose roles that showed his incredible range. In Truly, Madly, Deeply, 1990, he played a ghostly lover, tender, vulnerable, heartbreakingly human. The film showcased a side of Rickman most audiences had never seen. Then came Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991, where Rickman's Sheriff of Nottingham nearly stole the film. With lines delivered in a mix of venom and humor, Rickman turned a standard villain into a cult figure. His performance earned him a BAFTA award. Throughout the 90s, Rickman took on diverse roles. Colonel Brandon in Sense and Sensibility, 1995, where his quiet dignity melted hearts. Rasputin in Rasputin, Dark Servant of Destiny, 1996, a role that won him both an Emmy and a Golden Globe. He proved again and again that he could do anything. Villains, lovers, historical figures, and everything in between. His philosophy was simple. Never play a villain as just a villain. Find their humanity, show the cracks, and audiences would follow. In 2001, Rickman accepted a role that would define him for a new generation. Professor Severus Snape in the Harry Potter films. At first, he hesitated, but J.K. Rowling personally revealed to him Snape's full story arc. Long before the final books were published, Rickman knew the secret of Snape's enduring love for Lily Potter, and it shaped every scene he played. On screen, Snape was terrifying, sarcastic, cold, but underneath was a wound, a longing, a hidden tenderness. Rickman's performance made Snape one of the most complex and beloved characters in the series. Daniel Radcliffe later admitted that Rickman scared him on set in the early years. But as he grew older, he came to see Rickman as a mentor. The entire cast, from Emma Watson to Rupert Grint, spoke of his generosity, his wit, and his willingness to share wisdom. Rickman himself once said, "When I'm 80, I'll be reading Harry Potter, and my family will ask, why? And I'll say, because of Snape through Snape, Rickman reached millions of young fans around the world. Even during his Harry Potter years, Rickman never stopped seeking variety. He played the conflicted husband in Love Actually, 2003, reminding audiences of his subtlety and drama. He became Judge Turpin in Sweeney Todd, 2007, oozing menace opposite Johnny Depp. He embodied the chilling perfume maker in Perfume, The Story of a Murderer, 2006. Rickman also directed Helming the Winter Guest, 1997, and later A Little Chaos, 2014, which starred Kate Winslet. His directing style was gentle, collaborative, and actor-focused, just as he had always been as a colleague. He remained committed to the theater as well, supporting young actors in small productions. For Rickman, success never meant leaving behind his roots. Alan Rickman's personal life was the opposite of Hollywood glamour. For decades, he shared his life with Rima Horton, an economist and political activist. They met as teenagers in 1965, and their bond endured for half a century. They married quietly in 2012 after 47 years together. Friends described him as warm, witty, and fiercely loyal. Despite his reputation for playing villains, Rickman was beloved for his kindness. He donated generously to charities, mentored young performers, and rarely sought the spotlight outside of his work. In 2016, Alan Rickman passed away at the age of 69 after a private battle with pancreatic cancer. The news shocked the world. Tributes poured in from colleagues and fans alike. The cast of Harry Potter honored him with moving words. Fans gathered outside King's Cross Station, raising their wands in silent tribute. His legacy is immense. One of the greatest actors of his generation, a man who transformed villainy into poetry and who carried dignity and grace both on and off screen. Alan Rickman Story proves that it is never too late to follow your calling. He entered film at 41, yet left behind roles that defined generations. He showed us that villains could be noble, that heroes could be flawed, and that the greatest power of an actor lies in truth. Even today, his voice echoes through cinema, a reminder that talent once unleashed never really dies. So when you next watch Snape in the dungeons of Hogwarts, or Hans Gruber falling from Nakatomi Plaza, or the tender ghost in Truly, Madly, Deeply, remember Alan Rickman, not just the actor, but the man who lived with grace, dignity, and fire. This has been Bio Vault. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of the icons who shaped our world.